Hey everyone, this is part 2 of how I handled rejection. In the first part, I mentioned two different people, two different cases where the ending was not so great, but I learned a lot of lessons, and I feel like that's the most important part. To recap, with case number 1 or person number 1, he was my first legitimate meetup, had a good time, friends with benefits. I got rejected from him. No, I got rejected by him, or he rejected me, but we were still friends afterwards. But then later on, it was, I think I mentioned in that video that we drifted apart, but it's more of the fact that I reached out to him many times and it was obvious that he did not want to hang out with me. I guess the better term would be that I was low-key ghosted, but at the same time too, we still have each other's contact info. So I guess the better way to put it would be like I reached out to him, but he did not want to hang out with me as much as before. So that's totally fine because that happens with friends in general sometimes, and you can't keep everyone in your life forever. Okay, so for case number 2, person number 2, he was my first legitimate SoCal meetup. Okay, I don't need to use the word legitimate. He was actually my first Southern California meetup. And we got along very well, Airbnb'd together, but later on it was obvious that he was no longer interested in me, and also or like no longer interested in hanging out in general, and he essentially cut me off. And the best thing to do is to just give him space. I mean, not space, I mean just to leave him alone, because if people don't want you in their lives, then just let them be. It could be their loss, but it's always good like to just focus on yourself. So in those two cases, the endings were not so great, but I learned a lot, and like I mentioned, I had a lot of fun. So to recap again, so for case number 1, he no longer, or how I feel he no longer wants to hang out with me. And for case number 2, and this is how I feel, he essentially cut me off. Okay, so now let's get started with case number 3, who also rejected me, but we're still in touch. So it's a good, I shouldn't say ending because we're still friends. So good, whatever word you want to put. Okay, anyway, let's begin. Okay, so how did I meet up with case number 3 or person number 3? Well, this year, 2020, in January, I went to SoCal to visit family, and I often have a lot of downtime, so I just matched with people on Tinder and whatnot. And I matched with him, and I noticed that he super liked me, but the truth is I would have swiped right anyway, even if he did not super like me. Because, he was my type. And if you're curious about my type, actually, okay, you know what? I'll just tell you. Okay, so the thing is, I am very, very open to meeting up with new people. Like, I am open, but we all have preferences, and it's okay. It's okay to have a preference. Okay, it's okay to like more things than others. So who is my type? Anyway, so side story or interesting fact, I am a pansexual, which means that I like all genders, which includes male, female, and transsexual or transgender people, gender neutral people. Just look at the definition; it'll make more sense when you look it up. Anyway, okay, so my type, my preference for actually, you know what the interesting thing is? Okay, let me start off with females. So my preference for females is typically Asian females because I feel like we can relate. You know, look, I feel comfortable when I can relate to other people. What's my preference for guys? Okay, so let's start off with, okay, since I am Asian, I prefer matching up with Asian people because of the level of comfort. Because you are matching with people online, you don't know anything about them. So I would prefer to match with Asians just because I feel like we come from a similar background and because I feel like we can relate. Anyway, so he was totally my type because, okay, so let's start off with that. So first of all, he was Asian looking because the thing is, some people can actually be Asian, but they might not look it, and I don't know who they are. You know, like besides the picture, unless they mention it in their description. But still, you know, like we swipe, everyone swipes super quickly. So yeah, so I like for males, I like Asian, healthy, skinny, short Asians. I like short, healthy, skinny Asians. That is my type of guys. Okay, what's my definition of short? Okay, so I am 5'3.5", and what I consider short for guys is 5'7" or shorter. And when I okay, so this is how we match. So we matched on Tinder, and he super liked me, and yeah, so he was exactly my type because he fit the description of being Asian. Actually, I did not know he was 5'4" until I actually met up with him, but let's get to that part. But recap, another small recap. My type, short, quote unquote short, because normally they're taller than me. Short, Asian, healthy, skinny guys. Okay, you know what? I'll also like to add on that that so at least for me personally, so it's great that people are in shape. It's awesome that you guys have muscles and that you have abs. But for me personally, it will not, I repeat, it will not make me like you anymore. Okay, so what I'm saying is that for me, this is just me, because you know other girls like that kind of stuff. But like for me, having abs or having a lot of muscle does not increase the chance of me swiping right or me liking the person. Does that make sense? I mean, think about it. My type is short, Asian, healthy, skinny guys. You know, the key word is healthy. Healthy, skinny. Okay? Anyway, next part. Okay, so how did I meet up with him? So I was in SoCal, Southern California. We decided to meet up at a restaurant, but there was no parking, or he could not find parking because it was within walking distance of my place or where I was staying at that time. So then we ended up going to the same restaurant, just at a different location. So he drove us there to that location. And when we hung out, I realized that we were both really into K-pop. Well, actually, before we even met up, we talked about K-pop too. And I'm not exactly sure how, but I feel like I get along really well with those who like K-pop. I guess that's a really good icebreaker during that time. So this was in January, New Year's time. So actually, if you want the exact date, I remember January 4th, 2020. That was the day we met up. I was not in a good mental state at that time, so I didn't really expect anything. We got lunch together, and I did not think it would go beyond that, but it did. So that was great. And then we went to like certain places in SoCal, got along really well. Yeah, we explored places, went to a boba shop, played cards, did karaoke, drank a little, got dinner, and hung out and talked and and all that good stuff, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But okay, so but remember, even if things go well the very first time, it does not necessarily mean that there will be a next time. And yeah, but we are still in touch to this day. And even though, okay, so like when I got back home to NorCal, I was still on dating apps and I was still making out with other people. However, even though I made out with those people, I was still thinking about him. I was still thinking about case number 3 because I don't know. I really really liked him, and like also we're both ABC, American born Chinese. We know Cantonese, but it's not all that great, and we're both into K-pop and K-dramas, so that's like an added bonus. Anyway, but yeah, so essentially I realized I really did like him, and I would have loved to have gotten with him if he wanted to, of course, because people have different feelings. Anyway, yeah, so essentially, even though I was making out with other people after him at different times, I was still thinking about case number 3. So if I was okay, if he was not a rebound, is what I'm trying to say. We were supposed to meet up again in March, but because of the pandemic, that it did not happen, and I wanted to confess to him in person during that time and to see how like if he felt the same way or not, but I could not do it in person, so I had to opt to do it online. I'm going to mention a little bit about my scratching, my skin problems, because it is a very important of my life, especially this year. I confessed to him when I had scratching or skin problems. So how is this important? I will link my story below, but I will briefly mention the portion that's relevant to this story. I had trouble sleeping at night. My sleep schedule was 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the main reason why I had trouble sleeping was because my skin was really itchy, and because it was itchy, I kept scratching, and the cycle continued because like the more you scratch, the itchier you feel until you bleed. But even it was painful. Okay, so but as I was scratching or had skin problems, I was also thinking about him late into the night, thinking, oh, should I confess to him? Should I not? How should I do this? I don't know. Basically, those thoughts in my head were part of my cycle. Okay, let me go through that again. So I had itchy skin. I was scratching, but I was also thinking about him at the same time. I was thinking about confessing to him. So since I somehow made thinking about him part of the cycle, I wanted to break that cycle by actually confessing to him and getting closure, or at least letting it out. at least letting it out. So then one night, okay, I think it was end of March / early April, right? So I think, yeah, because it was at nighttime, I most likely, yeah, end of March, beginning of April, around that time, I emailed him because I wanted it to be different than so for case number 1, I sent him a message on Facebook. For case number 2, I texted him on his phone. So for case number 3, I emailed him, and I still have the email because it was very recent, since it was pretty much, like, can I do math? Pretty much it was this year, but yeah, so I confessed to him as because I wanted to break my scratching problems cycle and whatnot. So this is the email. I'm going to read it off and then also give you my commentary. And okay, so pretty much this is the gist of the email. So I'm like, okay, email confession. So let's begin. Okay. Hey, person number 3 or case number 3. I've been thinking about how I should confess to you, or if I should even do it or not to avoid complications. But here I am, confessing to you right now. Yes, I like you. I like you a lot. I'd like to be more than friends. I have a crush on you. I have feelings for you. Saranghaeyo. La la la. Okay, saranghaeyo means I love you, but I put like a question mark next to it because whatever. Anyway, to be honest, when we met up, I did not think we'd hang out beyond lunch, and I most certainly did not think we'd take pictures on my phone. Like I said, you're the first person I've taken pics with on the first meetup on my phone. It's a huge deal for me because I actively try to avoid it, but when we were at the store, I was like, fuck it, in my head. I was feeling like shit the night before we hung out, so I had no expectations of what would happen when we met up. If we did not go beyond lunch, that would have been completely fine with me. I actually met up with 5-ish people after you at different times, but even when I made out or fooled around with them, I could not stop thinking about you. You would not be a rebound, and I think you're attractive as fuck, which is why I'm very surprised that you're still single. I told myself that even if you did not feel the same way about me, that I'd have another friend who is into K-pop / K-dramas and anime. I was really hesitant with confessing, but I could not keep things bottled in anymore, and I did not want to have any regrets. I guess I also want closure and to move on. I'm typing this as though you're going to reject me, which is what my gut feeling tells me you're going to do. No expectations, right? Haha. Either way, I'd love to still have you as a friend, regardless, and continue sending you stuff. I definitely want to hang out with you on my next SoCal trip. So, I definitely want to hang out with you on my next SoCal trip. Anyway, I feel better letting this out, and I hope that this message gives you a self-esteem boost, if anything. Do me a huge favor and let me know ASAP on how you feel about me. I'd rather be rejected ASAP so I can move on faster. I'll be more than okay, trust me. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me in January and starting off 2020 with me. It really meant a lot, more than you'll ever know. Signed by me, and P.S. Sorry if some things are hard to understand. My sleep schedule is messed up. Okay, so after I sent him that email, the next day he told me on Facebook that we should be friends, which is fine. I was totally expecting it. I mean, even when I expect rejection, it still hurts a little. It doesn't matter. Like, no matter what kind of rejection you have, it'll hurt a little. It just depends on how you handle it. So, how did I handle this one? Okay, so I emailed him. He rejected me ASAP, which I really appreciate. Just told me, that we should just be friends, which was awesome. And I think I just went about as my usual Like it's interesting. I think like for yeah, even like for case number one and number two, I feel like for all three of them, I expected to get rejected. And how did I know that I would be rejected? I think it was just like the way we communicated. You kind of like just figure out those nuances as you hang out with that person. Yeah, the person likes hanging out with you, but it does not necessarily mean that they want to commit to you in that kind of way. So going specifically to case number three, after he rejected me, we still messaged each other as though like nothing happened or like it was fine. I think maybe part I was just very, very, very happy to get closure because I wanted to let it out. And I think I just wanted to know because I don't want any regrets. Because if I never confessed, I would not have known. Oh, so when I confessed to him, I wanted to be more than friends, not yet into a relationship, but just to be more than friends. Same thing with case number one, two, three. Same with case number one and two. Okay, so for all three people, I just wanted to be more than friends and then slowly build up to that relationship. But they did not want that. I'm really glad that they were clear on that and they just simply rejected me. So for person number three, we just continued talking as usual, and I still had feelings for him. Actually, I still had feelings for him. I'm not really sure when they went away, but I would like to say that they're gone now because I remember. I mean, I still kept my options open. Like I was still on dating apps, but I did not want to commit to anyone while I still had feelings for him. So what I'm saying is like, even after he rejected me, if he were to say, "Hey, Cynthia, I actually have feelings for you. I would like to, be more than friends or give us a shot," I would have said yes back then. I would have said yes, and I do not want to use anyone as a rebound. That is very unfair to the other person. So right now, so how did I get over him? Because I was still talking to him. Like we were still talking like as though like nothing happened. And I mean, when I think about it, it wasn't really that big. I don't know. Okay, at least to me, it didn't feel like that big of a deal. It was more like, okay, I messaged him and I wanted to know. I think it was more of the fact that I just wanted closure, that I was just able to get over it very well. And then my feelings for him like started to like fade. So yeah, so where are we right now? We're friends who love K-pop, who want to get who friends who want to travel to Asian countries, friends who want to know more Cantonese and Korean. Yeah, we're really good friends, and I'm so happy. Like I'm so happy that like we like still connect. Like even to this day, like the only time I saw him was in January, and I already told him. And I don't know if you're watching, but honestly, and this is not an exaggeration. He was one of the best things that happened to me in 2020. Meeting him was one of the best things that happened to me in 2020 because it's so nice like that I can talk to him on Messenger or through text whenever, like just throughout the pandemic. Even though we couldn't see each other in person, I felt like he was always there for me. And right now we're good friends is how I see it, and I really do hope to see him again in person one day when it is safe to do so. As always, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to watch my videos. I feel like I discussed a lot more of my stories and my thoughts, and not so much on exactly how basically I did not really give a step-by-step guide on how to handle rejection because these are my personal experiences and it is how I handled it. Basically, to sum it up, the way I handled all three, I went in with the expectation of being rejected. So that definitely was a factor in how I was able to get over them fairly well. So if I were to go through like a timeline, so case number one, I confessed to him in August 2018. Case number two, I confessed to him in January 2019. Case number three, March/April 2020. And like I said, I'm not in touch with 1 and 2 anymore, but I'm still in touch with number 3. I learned a lot from them, and I think my best tip to anyone in general, I think it'll be obvious if you know the person likes you back or not, but if you really have a crush on someone, and even if it is super obvious that they don't feel the same way about you, I say to just go for it. Like, you'd rather confess and get rejected than to have a whole bunch of what could have happened. What could have happened? You don't want to ask that question. I encourage you to confess. And if you get rejected, it'll hurt. Even if you go in with the expectation of being rejected. But trust me, you'll get over it. And the best way to get over someone is to focus on yourself, focus on your own hobbies. People get over certain people at their own pace. So take your time in getting over someone, but make sure you take care of yourself, both physically and mentally. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my stories. I hope that was helpful for some of you. I hope some of you were able to relate. If you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. As always, and once again, thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day.